We're on the road again. Follow us as we travel around the northeastern parts of the wheatbelt area of Western Australia. We meet some amazing people with interesting stories and have a look at a bit of the history of the region. We stay in some amazing campsites. We go from freezing our backsides off to sweating the same backsides off in the heat, then get sent packing as a wild storm approaches. We stumble across a private collection of artefacts and go to some amazing museums. And disaster strikes that almost finishes some of the group members' holidays before it starts. So come with us now as we ride the Wheatbelt Way. Hey, g'day folks, how you going? Welcome to this week's episode of Wheatbelt Way. Last week we had a look from Goomalling through to Koorda, and this week we camp in an abandoned town, almost abandoned. We check out Ben Cubbon and a couple of places of interest around there, and then the video doesn't end well because we have a bit of a disaster for one of our travellers. So let's get into it. Well, we're in the town of Gabon. Well, it used to be a town. There's one house here now that's got one or two people living in it. Just saw a bloke out the back there and some goats. So that's about all that live here anymore now. This is our camp for tonight. It's not quite a bush camp, but it's not a caravan park. We're just behind the Gabon town hall. It's a donation for using the toilets and the showers and things there. It's a nice little camping ground here under the trees. Across the road we've got paddock over here, so it should be fairly quiet, apart from some locals that just moved in. It's got a child with a very annoying toy. So I don't know who gave them that toy, but I could see that toy getting lost during the night. Don't normally take pictures of annoying kids, but there we go. And there's the culprit down there. That's it there. Get a load of this thing, would you? Who buys a kid that toy to go camping with? Maybe that person up there in the doorway. But this is our camp for tonight. So let's have a look around what we've got here. So we got Jessica and David and the annoying toy with the kid, Jackson, better mention his name. They're sleeping in the rooftop tent up there. So that's last night was their first experience in that, so a bit of mixed feelings on how that went. Of course, we're in luxury, we've got the caravan. Got Belinda over here under one awning. She's setting up her single King's swag. So that's it down there. And we've got Melanie over here. She's setting up her deluxe king size double thing swag from King's. And then we've got this thing over here. This is a bit different. This is a Pantech truck, and it's been converted into a mobile home. But we'll see if later on maybe Pat might let us come inside and take some pictures inside and see what he's been doing. It's still a work in progress, but he actually lives full time in that. But not a bad campsite. It's a bit cool and windy tonight, so we've kind of parked the car to create a bit of a fire break, so a windbreak, sorry, so that we can sit out here. So let's hope for a good night, eh? And we'll probably see you in the morning, and I'll tell you a little bit more about this place tomorrow.
Wow, you got a tractor. Look at it go.
Well, morning folks. It was a pretty cold and wet night last night. Tell you what, the weather forecast 2 weeks ago when I checked it out for this area said it was going to be mid to high 20s and possibly even a 30. Geez, they got that mighty wrong, haven't they? So this is day 3 of our road trip, and we're in the town of Gabon. So we'll have a bit of a walk around the place and see what there is here. Well, it's a ghost town, so there's not much here, but there's a bit of a heritage trail and a few things to have a look at. So we'll take a wander and have a look. This is, or was, the town of Gabon. It was pretty hard to find any information on this place, but I found a few lines in Wikipedia. No, I don't normally use stuff from that, but as it's the only thing I've got, then it is what it is. Like a lot of places in the bush, the town appeared because of the railway line. The Walcatcham to Mount Marshall rail line went through here in 1913, and it was identified that a station would be needed here. I'm guessing because the trains were mostly steam, a resupply of water and maybe wood or coal would be needed by now. In 1918, a town was established, taking its name from the railway station. Today the trains don't run through here anymore, but the wheat silos are still used by the local farming community. As for the town, well, it's officially listed as a ghost town, but in 2021 it was still officially 44 people still living in the Gabon district. There is one person, I think one or two people, that still live in the house that's here in town. If you do the heritage walk, you get an idea of what the town was like so many years ago. See, the problem is, and I'm guilty of it too, I walk all around these places and talk all about the history of something. And while it is history, it sounds, well, so boring. It's enough to turn anybody off, even me. But when you start looking into places and reading about what happened somewhere, it moves from being boring to, I don't know, interesting. I found an article online from a paper back in October 1933. News of the day.
The Mount Marshall District Agricultural Society held their annual exhibition at the Benkubin Showgrounds on September 23. The weather was very favourable for the event. There was an excellent display of fancy work, vegetables, produce, cookery, and school work. Part of the timber for the installation of the bulk handling depot has arrived in Gabon. Work is expected to commence next week. The weather for the past week has been very hot. On September 26 and 27 slight showers fell. It is several weeks since the last heavy rain, and a heavy downpour would be very beneficial as the crops are beginning to wilt.
As I said at the start, there is a toilet and shower here for a donation. It's kept clean and stocked up. Quite literally, the pub with no beer. Oh dear, what's a farmer going to do? Go next door, of course. But wait, that's closed too. A town with no pub, that's unheard of. If ever there was a town that needed a men's shed, this is probably it. We're now about 280 kilometres northeast of Perth. That's still less than the distance from Perth to Geraldton. We're in the little town of Bencubbin. It's got a population of 242 people, give or take. It's smaller than Koorda, but on a bright note, bigger than Gabon, where we spent last night. Once again, it all came down to the railway line and the farming in the area that brought the need of a town. The area opened up in 1910, with the town being gazetted in 1917. That was the same year the iron horse or train came to town. Before this, sandalwood cutters roamed the area and their tracks became the roads we travel on today. A few kilometres outside of Bencubbin is Marshall Rock. It's a granite rock in the middle of the wheat paddocks. It's a popular area for the locals to have a picnic. It's also an overnight camp spot. John Septimus Roe found it in 1836 and named it after Captain Marshall McDermott, who was an early settler on the Swan River colony. Here's another reason to check out this spot. There is an easy 10-minute walk up to the top of the rock where you can get some amazing views of the countryside. And it looks pretty amazing at this time of the year with all the paddocks in crop. It is possible to drive to the top of the rock if you have a four-wheel drive, mostly for ground clearance more than anything else, if the track has ruts in it because of the rain. And if you're into wildflowers, then there are a few around here as well. This is an old homestead just down the road from Mount Marshall. It was built with granite rock sourced from the area and held together with mortar. But the most interesting thing is over here. This sheep yard was made out of large granite slabs that they sourced from a local hill. They were drawn into position by horse and sled to create the fence line for the sheep. Now if you're coming out here, don't forget, this site is on private property and the farmer is making this available to everybody to come out and have a look at because of the historical significance of it. So let's do him a favour. If the gates are closed when you come through, close the gates behind you And when you come out here, don't leave any rubbish here, just leave your footprints. After leaving Bencoven and heading to Beacon, we were enjoying the drive through some occasional misty rain when this happened.
I was literally picking up the radio when you said can we stop to say can we stop, because I hope a car comes past while we're doing this.
Belinda, do it! It's a prayer.
Looks like we're trying.
Well, as you can see, emotions were running high, so I didn't want to film anything. I was busy trying to work out what the problem was, and my main camera person, it was her car that was the problem, so we didn't get any footage or anything of it. But to give you a bit of an idea, we were driving down the road and Melanie called me up on the radio and said her alternator light and a handbrake light had just come on. And we knew that wasn't right because she hasn't been driving with the handbrake on. So I thought maybe the alternator belt had broken. So we pulled over the side of the road and opened up and have a look. I see the harmonic balancer wasn't turning. So straight away shut the car off, and luckily everything was still there. We hadn't lost anything, so I tightened the bolt up as tight as I could do it. And in the process of trying to start the motor up, I could see that the bolt had actually come loose again. So we shut it all down. That's why all those people were doing this sort of thing, because they were crossing their fingers hoping it was going to work. We determined it wasn't going to work. There's nothing I could do about it on the side of the road, so we were going to take it back to Perth. We rang around trying to find a car trailer. The only one we could find was back here in Perth. So we drove 250 kilometres back to Perth to pick the car trailer up, then drove back up there again to put the car on it, and then drove back down here to Perth to drop the car off, took the car trailer back. And I think it was about 4 o'clock in the morning by the time we'd finished doing all this, and this drama started around about, I'm thinking maybe about 2-3 o'clock, something like that. So I'd been going for a long time. We decided, because we weren't far from home, we thought we'll go home, get a couple of hours sleep, and then we'll drive up in daylight back to Beacon, where everybody else went to. And I'll tell you a funny story here. My missus, she's going to kill me for doing this, but we were asleep in bed and it was bucketing down with rain, and my missus woke me up in a startled state, telling me that the that hot water system was boiling over, because I'd shut it off when we went away, because we were going to be away for 2 weeks, and I turned it back on so we could have a shower when we got back, when we were there that night, and she thought it was boiling over. So I jumped up and I'm bouncing off the walls trying to go out the back to where the hot water system is, and halfway in I'm trying to work out why would the hot water system be boiling over, because it doesn't heat water to boiling point, And I got out there and then I realised what it was. We recently had a roof put on our house, a new patio roof, and the leftover tin was out the front of the house near our bedroom window, and it was the rain dripping off the shade cloth out the front onto that, and it made it sound like the water was boiling. So by then I was wide awake by then, so in the end I just sort stuff. We went to McDonald's and got an early breakfast, and then started off back to Beacon to meet everybody else, but I'm going to get in trouble for that. But anyway, that's the end of this video, so I hope you like it. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Helps the channel out and makes YouTube show my videos to other people. And obviously, if you haven't already, subscribe down the bottom. But we'll see you next week, where we what do we do next week? We have a look at Beacon, and then we head off to a first of a bush camp that I was looking forward to. But anyway, till then, happy travels.